Viva Independencia, España. Here at Vision Recycling and Del Conte's Landscaping, we all stop work each and every year so that all of us, as we should, can take a moment to honor and respect the privileges we have to live in independence and in freedom. Freedom is not automatic. As a matter of fact, 61% of the world's population does not live in free countries. And that is why we take a moment each year to understand, to honor, and to appreciate the freedom that we have. Translate? As we pointed out last year, in the 2018 elections in Mexico, over 134 politicians were murdered because of the cartels and the bad people that do not want good and honest people to be elected. The war on freedom of rights does exist today. It is important, especially on Hispanic Independence Day, that we, the people, support good and fair governments. We know governments can be corrupt and oppress and not let people live free. Bad governments can allow crime to have power over the people. If government allows crime to rule, this is not a free society. Translate? With freedom comes fair economies. And fair economies create opportunities for all people. As you know, one of our company's key words is that word opportunity. It is on the trucks and the signs at virtually all of our locations. My hope is that as part of our culture, we all drive for freedom and for opportunity. As recent as the past 150 years, there's been huge progress in the rights of people. Before that, such freedom was not as widespread. Yet oppression still exists today. There are groups that hold people back in fear. These groups such as Al-Qaeda, the cartels, the Mafia, and MS-13 that today affect Hispanic Central America. To protect our freedoms, we cannot leave it all to someone else. We each have a civic duty to understand freedom and the impacts of governments. Translate? At our company, we are not going to tell you who or what you should support, but we are going to discuss and celebrate freedom. We're also going to encourage you to take your own time to dig into governmental policies. Whether you're born in a Hispanic country or here in the U.S., I want to encourage you to take some interest to understand what the government policies are and what can happen with the different policies from our government. Society is better if the people really understand some of these policies that governments are trying to enact and what these policies will eventually lead to. Translate? When the U.S. became free, the third president of the United States in 1801 was Thomas Jefferson. Personally, Thomas Jefferson's one of my favorites. Most recently, in Mexico, in 2006, there was a president, Felipe Calderón. These two presidents, Thomas Jefferson and Felipe Calderón, share similar viewpoints. They both believe in strong but minimum governments. They believe that government guidance, not government rule, should be in effect. They believe that freedom, meant for the people, are able to live their own lives, to obey the laws, but make their own decisions without the government telling them every minute detail that they should do and cannot do. There's a contrast between the left and the right that is becoming much wider these days. The left believes in raising taxes and increasing the size of government in order to provide benefits for everyone, regardless of how hard that person works or even if they work. But the left wants them to be treated equally. The right, on the other hand, believes in enforcing the law, reducing taxes, to incentivize every person to achieve their own individual opportunities and values with minimum government intervention. The right supports that healthy people can and should seize up the opportunities that they may have. Translate? Some of the Hispanic American countries are doing well with the freedom that they've had over the last 50 years, while others of these Hispanic countries are still struggling greatly. Freedom and opportunity for the people does not really exist in some of these countries. In the countries of El Salvador under Nayib Bukele, in Guatemala under Jaime Morales, in Honduras under Juan Orlando Hernandez, and Nicaragua under Daniel Ortega, these governments unfortunately continue to be influenced by the cartels and by MS-13. And internal government corruption still exists in these countries. I believe the people in those countries will need to empower leaders who will enforce justice and develop economies that are fair so the people can grow their own opportunities and the countries become a safe and healthy place to live. Costa Rica, on the other hand, has done a bit better since gaining independence, and the country continues to improve with the current president, Carlos Alvarado, who supports environmental green movement. Mexico, on the other hand, has had its ups and downs. Fox and Calderon fought the cartels hard, leading to the start of a very strong economies. But then the people did not educate themselves very well, and they elected a very popular and a very handsome Enrique Peña as their president. Nieto Peña was not vigilant, and knowingly, or maybe not knowing, he allowed corruption to slide back into power. But last year, in July 2018, the Mexican elections, the people overwhelmingly voted for the candidate Andrés López Obrador. His campaign promise was based on change. He promised to fight and to end corruption in government, and also for progress in social programs for the people. I personally am pretty happy that Obrador wants to fight corruption. That, to me, is the biggest thing. I also hope his social change is not to raise taxes and give to the poor, but will promote people to productively earn their own opportunities, as we do here in our companies. Translate? In conclusion, I want all of us to acknowledge our freedom as humans and to recognize that we should have the full opportunity that we can create for ourselves. You can and have a printed copy of this in English or in Spanish if you want of this transcript. Just ask your supervisor and they'll provide you a copy. We have two slogans within our company that I hope most and all of us will realize. One of them is a sentence and the other are 3 words. The sentence is to enhance the quality of life of all stakeholders. And the other is the 3 principles that are on the trucks and at most of the operations, most of the branches. And those 3 words that I hope you help me support are opportunity, innovation, and integrity. Thank you very much, and translate.